Good evening, class. Let me first say I am so proud of you all. Last week you did extremely well on subject and verbs, subject verb agreement, irregular verbs, sentence types, as well as fragments. So let's just have a quick review. First, we'll start off by talking about subject and verbs. We first said that a sentence has two parts of a sentence. Well, a sentence has two parts, excuse me. Subject and a verb, or a subject and a predicate. A predicate is the entire end of the sentence that's including the verb. So, say for instance, if I say the girl went to the store, girl will be the subject, went will be the verb, but went to the store will be the predicate. This is the entire end of the sentence. So, we have two parts to make up a sentence: subject verb or subject predicate. Subject, if you want to ask yourself who or what the sentence is talking about, that's how we'll come up with our subject. So more than likely, it's going to be a noun, which is a person, place, thing, or an idea. And the verb is an action word. Sometimes we get a little confused because we have linking verbs that are not necessarily action words. So you have to think about words like is, are, was. These type of words are a verb, but they don't necessarily have an action. So the girl is, the girl was. It doesn't show an action, but that is our verb in the sentence. So make sure we remember those things when we are identifying our verbs. They are called linking verbs. So that's very, very well. Remember, a subject verb agreement. Subject verb agreement. If a subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. It's almost like credit and debits, or credit and debits when it comes to banking. So, say for instance, the only thing that might be a little tricky about it is if the verb is singular, there must be an S that adds onto the sentence. If the verb is plural, then there won't be an S. Keep in mind the subject. The subject is singular. If they have two, so if it's being combined by an and, which is a conjunction, you want to make sure that you know that that is now a plural statement, even though it's Ashley and Alicia. It's now a plural statement. So our subject will be plural and our verb will be plural, meaning it would not have an S. Okay? So make sure you remember that. I think we did extremely well on that, and I want to make sure we continue to do well. Make sure you read it out loud, because more than likely, if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. Sentence types. There are three types of sentences. We have simple sentences, complex sentences, and then we have a compound sentence. A simple sentence is similar to what we talked about a few minutes ago. A simple sentence only has one subject and one verb, and it's combined together, so that's going to be a complete thought. One subject, one verb. A compound sentence. A compound sentence is made up of two or more complete thoughts. So the followings are a complete thoughts that is joined by a compound sentence. Rose wants chili for dinner, but she forgot to buy beans. So those are two complete thoughts. Rose wants chili for dinner. She forgot to buy beans. But will be the conjunction word that forms it together, or the joining word. So we're going to use a comma and add a conjunction word or a joining word to make it a complete thought. And it be a compound sentence. So I'll read it one more time. Rose wants chili for dinner, comma, but she forgot to buy beans. Remember, the comma is going to always come before the conjunction, okay? Complex. A complex sentence is very similar to a compound sentence. It's made up of one complete thought and a thought that begins with a dependent word. So instead of making it two complete thoughts, we're going to make the other thought, which is more than likely going to be the secondary thought in the sentence, dependent upon the first thought. For example, a comma is placed after the dependent statement, which starts with the sentence. Although I had a free ticket to the game, comma, I was too tired to go. So adding words like after, although, as, because, before, it, since, unless, until, when, while, those things make the other part of the sentence dependent on the first part of the sentence, or however the sentence is phrased. So it cannot stand alone. So remember, those words are called dependent words: after, although, as, because, before, if, since, unless, until, when, and while. Dependent words. Those statements cannot stand alone. They are no longer complete thought because those words exist, okay? So we want to make sure we remember those type of sentences. I think those are kind of easy to identify. But once we kind of get an idea of what the different sentence types are, we'll be able to easily identify fragments. As we talked about on last week, sentence fragments are a sentence that's even lacking a subject, a verb, or a complete thought. That's the first type of sentence fragments that we talked about. We will get a little bit deeper as it relates to fragments this week, just as it relates to punctuation or combining a run-on sentence to no longer make it a fragment, but a correct sentence. So this is what your assignment, your test will be on this week. So make sure we pay close attention and get what it is that we have to get. Let's ask questions. What we're now going to do is get into groups again, and we're going to play a game. I will issue out some cards. And the name of the game is called the Game of Things, okay? So there are like writing prompts here in the sentence on each card. So you're going to take a writing prompt and you're going to form a sentence. You want to make sure you're making a complete sentence based on what the card is telling you to write about, okay? So remember, a sentence has a subject, verb, or subject and predicate. So make sure we have a complete thought to make a complete sentence. Matter of fact, just go ahead and answer the question using simple sentences, complex sentences, as well as compounds. So let's go ahead and work on combining those, because this week we're going to do a lot of actually looking at run-on sentences, correcting them, using punctuation and joining words to make that sentence correct. So let's go ahead and work on those. We'll split into groups and we'll be back soon.